Hi, this video is about what traffic is ChatGPT stealing now and what traffic can we expect it to steal in the future. And this is an interesting article that is one data point in a sea of data points right now, but it's a really, I think, a critical one that I think points out and alludes to or implies certain things that are happening that I suggested a couple months ago or 6 weeks ago or whatever, one of my first videos with regards to how ChatGPT is going to affect SEO, and that all ties up into here. There's a lot of implications for Google, for SEO, and for digital marketing in general, because the behavior of people with regards to how they interact with the internet, and ChatGPT is changing that it for some people in minor ways, for a lot of people, and then for a smaller group, but still a substantial amount of group, I think it's changing how they use the internet in a very substantial way. So let's start with this case study here. Traffic down 14% in March for ChatGPT, and the thesis here is basically that, hey, when they used to search before on Stack Overflow or on Google, really, that link to Stack Overflow, instead they're just doing it within ChatGPT. And so this is a big concern, obviously, for Stack Overflow and by extension for Google as well. Now, I do want to put the caveat that correlation is not necessarily causation. This could be due to something else. Maybe, I know a lot of software developers lost their jobs. Maybe they're leaving software development at a high rate or something. I don't know. That would need to be pulled out of the data, or at least analyzed from that angle. That said, this does seem to be explained by ChatGPT. I have used ChatGPT to write some code. I'm not a super experienced programmer, at least not in like the production quality program. More from an academic standpoint, I've done a lot or like back end standpoint that didn't need to be stupid proofed in all ways. And I was able to, without knowing any Python, create a few useful, pretty complicated Python scripts. And one interesting thing about how this works is that when you need a very large amount of context to give something, then a Google search doesn't really answer. There's only so much you can put in there. You're not going to put in 5 paragraphs, 500 words of description and context into Google. I don't know what the limit is of their characters, but I imagine that's just not going to fit, or just not really even going to work. And so ChatGPT is especially good in this very specific use case, because you can give it a lot of context. You can either give it a whole set of code, a very long set of code, and be like, hey, and here's the error I'm getting, what's going on. That's pretty freaking amazing. Or you can just give them, if you don't have your code yet, you can start and give a very detailed description of what you want, and it can spit it all out. And so this is not just necessarily solving one problem at a time, but it can solve quite a bit, or look at a wider range of context. And I think this gives ChatGPT a significant advantage. So I think that partially explains it. But there's another point I made a couple months ago, which is that I think we need to kind of split up like the queries. Let's look at it from Google's standpoint, because I think that this traffic, probably most of this, maybe 100% of this, is explained by just less search traffic, because people aren't searching Google anymore. But there's informational queries versus commercial queries. Now, I think that what I said before, and I think it's going to hold true in general, I don't know the exact speed of it, which is that ChatGPT will steal more informational queries first and then move into commercial queries, and it's unclear whether or not they can eat all of that, or whether or not Google and the search engines will keep a lot of the commercial queries. I will say that the ChatGPT plugins, a lot of them are, and they've just added a bunch, I need to shoot another video on this, are very commercial oriented, in that like they kind of allow you to buy, but it's kind of shop and buy. It's pretty rough, to be honest, and I don't think it's there yet, even though I think that it could get there at some point in the future. My point is more that the informational queries are going to be taken first. Now, maybe Google doesn't care about that much, because the informational queries aren't as valuable from a selling ad standpoint, which is how they make most of their money. With the ones that I tested, as I suspected, the e-commerce trying to shop through ChatGPT, I don't think it was a positive experience. I thought it would have been easier just to do Google or Amazon, or go to my favorite store, or however I'm currently buying it. Also, while I think it's possible to do this, I think that it's a whole other system would need to be set up. Otherwise, they'd be using Google's data, which is like finding a lawyer or a plumber or kind of like local businesses, which is a very large amount of potential business. I don't see people, pulling in the reviews other than from Google to make a shopping decision in that way. I think that it's just kind of faster and more efficient unless it's kind of, there's some additional queries, maybe some additional context that you need to add. I'm not sure that really makes a whole lot of sense for like a plumber. Either they're a plumber that does this service or not. And Google already does a pretty good job of kind of filtering that out. If you're looking for a specific type of plumber, they'll scan the plumber's website, and if the plumber's websites, and if they mention that service on there, then they're much more likely to show up in their maps listings. And so this is an area that ChatGPT I think will struggle with at first, but I think will eventually take over some amount of it. It remains. There's probably going to be some use cases where it makes a lot of sense and other use cases where it doesn't make a lot of sense. So back to here, a little bit more broad to digital marketing, be it ads, trying to put ads in front of people, buying ads, or social media marketing, or a variety of things. I do think that this takes again, a traffic from everywhere eventually to some degree. And so it'll be interesting to watch the just kind of the global internet user behavior over time. Now, what is interesting, and I think this deserves its own video, which is Google, they recently gave a preview of their search generative experience. And I think that this is, to me, very underwhelming. First of all, this is exactly what Bing AI, as they put, like Bing AI wearing Google's clothes. Yeah, it looks almost exactly like Bing AI. Looks like they are cloning Bing AI, and therefore they're not the market leader in this space. Now, maybe their search algorithm, not maybe, but their search algorithm still is a bit better. It's always been a little bit ahead, at least a year or two ahead of Bing AI, at least for the last 10 years when I've been doing SEO. But their chat algorithm just isn't nearly as good. Bard was terrible. Now, supposedly Bard will be improved. I haven't seen it yet, and the longer it takes Google to come out with something that really what they need is something where they can run a bunch of tests and compare it to GPT-4, and it comes out ahead. They need something like that, and they need it soon. And if the longer it goes without them doing that, the more it's just it's just not there. They just don't have it. They have all these other AI models that are good, maybe awesome in all these specific ways, but in the directly applicable ways that ChatGPT and OpenAI's models, it seems like they're being left in the dust. So the point about that is that, if their Bard still sucks, and this is basically Bard with a different face, then this experience probably won't be as good. Additionally, maybe they should just give up on these types of things. Maybe they should just accept that they're not going to be the answer to everything. Every question is going to be done on their platform, because what's the value of this search to them? Now, there is some broad, keeping people on your platform. There's some benefits to that. But I think that there could also be some benefits from a business standpoint to just all right, well, we just kind of go with what works the best. Let's focus in on, instead of trying to capture the things that are lower value for us, let's do a better job and make sure we keep the commercial stuff. I suspect that might actually be a better strategy. I don't think they'll do that because they still kind of have these big, grandiose, and to some degree reasonable expectations for themselves as being kind of the place that people go for information of all types. But again, this seems to reek of panic, or just kind of me too, and again, not being the market leader, because this is just like Bing AI with Google in the back end, and a better search algorithm with a worse chat algorithm. That's my expectation. Now, maybe Bard version 2 or version 3 will blow GPT-4 out of the water. I'll be happy to say that when that occurs, but at this point, it doesn't seem likely. I think there should be a whole separate video shot on this. Let me know if you want that in the description. Let me know if you think Google is screwed. If you like this video, my kids need shoes. Please like and subscribe so that they can get some new shoes. I'm just kidding. They have shoes. So let's circle back around to this article and what it means for traffic in general. I think they're, kind of in summary, You look at informational versus commercial queries. I think there's a critical distinction, and I think that they'll be taken over at a very different rate. Now, not all queries are 100% informational or 100% commercial, and some commercial queries will be easier for ChatGPT to take over. I think the non-local stuff will be easier, and the local stuff will be the hardest things for Google to take over because they kind of need Google's data. Maybe they'll just use Yelp, and maybe Yelp will take over that, or maybe there's another review or type of platform that will integrate well into ChatGPT and take that. I think that is unlikely to happen very soon. I think it'll be one of the last things. And if it does, if ChatGPT does take that, there's probably going to be some people, probably still some people who use phone books. There's going to be some people who still use Google for a long time, but then Google will definitely be in a lot of trouble, and they'll lose a lot of money. But back to kind of like, so it's the informational and the commercial, but then there's also just the greater the context that you want to give, that's useful to give into an algorithm to get a good response. The more of that you want, and the more that is useful, the more that ChatGPT and the AI large language models make sense to take over that kind of user behavior. So if it's something really simple, plumber near me, that's not a really complicated concept. It's clear what they're using. But if you're like trying to create a specific piece of software in a specific code set, or specific language with a specific software stack and with specific features, and you want to put all those in and get a highly relevant output, ChatGPT is and the AI models are really they're going to do that really well. So I fully expect Stack Overflow to continue to lose traffic at a very rapid pace. I'd be willing to bet that their April numbers probably looked even worse, and then a lot of types of informational sources like this will be taken out by ChatGPT. It's kind of sad because probably ChatGPT crawled Stack Overflow and got information from there. I don't know that for sure, but my guess is that they did, or other places like Stack Overflow, in order to build a database of potential answers. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know if you like this video. Like and subscribe. Have a great day.